It comes at a time when Australia is about to take over the leadership of the UN Security Council. Whoever is Prime Minister next year will be hosting the G20 meeting. Australia is about to take a lead in world affairs, in other words, and Kevin Rudd says you're not up to it.
Yeah, I thought that was a comment that was a little beneath our Prime Minister. It was an echo of something that Paul Keating, in his desperate last moments, said of John Howard back in early 1996. And as you know, John Howard turned out to be almost certainly our best Prime Minister since Menzies, and a very effective foreign policy Prime Minister. Look, I am ready for the responsibilities of the highest office, including foreign responsibilities.
It's fair to ask the question, though, where are your credentials? Where are your foreign policy credentials?
Well, I was a minister for 9 years in a successful government. I was leader of the House of Representatives for 6 years in a successful government. I worked very closely with John Howard and with Alexander Downer. Sure, I don't have the overseas experience that they had at the end of their time, but I have the overseas experience that they had at the beginning of their time, and look how well they turned out.
President Obama said overnight the United States will take military action against the Syrian regime targets, and he won't be waiting for UN inspectors. What do you think of that approach?
Well, all Australian governments instinctively want to support our friends and allies, and our greatest ally obviously is the United States. All Australian governments instinctively want to uphold the universal human decencies, and the regime's use of poison gas on its own people is an utter abomination. That said, any punitive strike, it's got to be targeted, it's got to be proportionate, and it's got to be carefully considered to try to ensure that as far as is humanly possible, we aren't making a bad situation worse.
Right, because when the Secretary General of the UN says that he would like to see a political solution, not a military solution, the United States says otherwise. Your inclination would be to support the US on this?
If we could get a political solution tomorrow, that would be terrific. But I don't believe we're likely to get a political solution tomorrow. We've got a civil war going on in that benighted country between two pretty unsavoury sides. It's not goodies versus baddies, it's baddies versus baddies, and that's why it's very important that we don't make a very difficult situation worse. And the other point I should make, Barry, is Australia has a role here, but it's a diplomatic role, not a military role. There's probably only 3 Western countries with the ability to actually take military action. That's the United States, Britain, which has apparently ruled itself out, and France, which has a very limited capacity.
Now, the other thing that President Obama said is that the UN Security Council has become completely paralysed. Now, there's a challenge for you. How do you make the Security Council more active?
This is really a difficulty between the United States and Britain and France on one hand, and Russia and China on the other hand. Plainly, Russia thinks that it has an important strategic interest in propping up the Assad regime. Where the Security Council is, for whatever reason, ineffective, there is precedent for right-thinking powers, if you like, to take action, and that was in former Yugoslavia when Britain, the United States and other countries took action in Kosovo.